You've been scared. You felt unsafe. You wore armor. You did so many things to try to feel safe and you didn't. Yet, what if you embraced the fact that the safety comes by using your voice? And the safety is what gives you back your voice. Safety isn't some kind of construct. It isn't some kind of made up imaginary thing. It really does exist, even though it may not feel like it right now. And when you can find that place that allows you to safely be, say, and do who you are, then you're going to start finding your voice coming out freely and clearly so that you can change the world. Hi, my name's Steve Kidd. I am a third-generation minister, international best-selling author of 39 books and counting. I've had the wonderful privilege of working with more than 5,000 people, helping them write, publish, market their books to bestseller, and everything that goes beyond that. And as a 40-year marketing company, what I have spent my time specializing in is helping people really find that powerful clarity that comes in knowing who you are, what your passionate purpose in this world is, and how you can just show up in the world 100% as you. And we've been talking about, and I want to continue leaning into how you can do that and still remain safe, to not end up feeling like any minute now it's all going to fall out from underneath of me. Because absolutely, and I totally get it, and I've been in that place many, many times myself. But really, the truth of the matter is that you can find, and there is a place of real safety where it's not a matter of some kind of false thing. And we're going to get into it today about some of the things that have made us lied to us about what safety is and then tricked us in. But there is a place that you can be where you can be truly safe. You can feel happy, safe, warm, and loved, and not have that be some kind of trite, sideways kind of situation. I've intentionally, I do the invites like I just did, and then I've intentionally, taken this week and gone to sitting back. Normally when I do my speaking, I'm kind of up on the camera and I'm usually really all of my Steve personality. I mean, I think it's kind of like gentle harshness. Patricia said that she perceives me as being, you'd have to put it back out, Patricia. It was a really interesting thing, like Leonardo DiCaprio level of, was it nice or elegance or something like that, with a secret mobster boss underneath or something like that. I don't remember. It was pretty cool. I just want to be here for you. And so I'm intentionally sitting back because I want to create a space here that's safe. And sometimes me being up on the camera may feel a little bit like that. And I don't want it to feel that way today. You see, often when we go live, Leonardo DiCaprio played a well-loved philanthropist, but actually a mob boss. Okay, all right, yeah. Often we go live. I'm always telling you, pick up your phone and say, hi, my name is, what I do is, and what I'd love to talk to you about today is, right? And you're like, I did that, and there was nobody on live, and nobody listened to it, and nobody, right? And that's how it feels. Okay, I get that. And it feels like you're screaming out into the void. Part of why I use the methodology that I do, and yes, StreamYard is a paid service. It's not much, but I mean, it does cost like, I forget even what it is. I think it's $45 now. When I first started it, it was like $15, and they just keep ratcheting up their fees, like we do, right? But I do it on purpose so that I can be out to you on multiple places simultaneously. So those of you that are listening on LinkedIn are in the same availability as those of you that are listening on Facebook. And then I also tag YouTube in there. I could pay a higher version and I could go to other places. And my video person that I'm testing out wants me to go up to that higher level because they'd like to see me do these lives out directly onto TikTok. And I'm trying to figure out how we could maybe make that work too. But it's about me being where you are. Okay, that's number one. Number two is this is about really developing the clarity. It's interesting because I was just literally, the reason why I was late is because I've joined into a new group on purpose, a really cool group of people. And unfortunately, it means that on Mondays and on Thursdays, I'm probably going to be 15 to 30 minutes late most of the time for our live. So we'll start at around 12:30 Central Time versus right at noon, which always ends up being right at noon, not right at noon, right? I'm always like 10 or 15 minutes late. That's why I always tell you in the noon hour. So it's still going to be in the noon hour Central Time, but we're going to make that little tweak. But it was interesting because one of the guys was talking about how he's video recording himself, but he's not sending it out live. And we were talking through, why are you doing that and what's it for? And there's some very good therapeutic benefit to just, and what you would do with that. Zoom is free. So is Google Meet. There's free versions of that. Most of your phones have some kind of recorder. Most computers would have something like that too. You wouldn't have to do video. You could do audio and, use the audio recorder in there. There's some therapeutic benefit to it. And part of why the video is very difficult, but also very therapeutic is if after you just rambling coherently, you then go back and you listen to it and you take notes on yourself. How did I look? How did I feel? How does that land with me? How on was what I said with, and that's all about listening to your gut. My gut tells me this is on, this is off, this is on brand, this is off brand, that kind of a situation. From a therapeutic standpoint, so that you're beginning to drill in and know you. And that's a therapy kind of a evaluation of that, right? But from a practicality standpoint, when we're talking about truly being safe and being clear, the hatchback is a hallmark of a Pro too. You may have to explain that one to me in more detail. Hey, Willie, glad to have you here with us. So glad to have you here today. Willie and I have got so many cool things, and Patricia's part of it. There are so many amazing things that God's doing in the world. But I want you to see the concept of just speaking it, putting it out there into the world. We have been sold, and social media is so bad about this. And then AI makes it even 10 times worse. We've been sold this lie that it needs to be a certain level before we put it out. Now, Willie J is a professional recording artist. Obviously, he's not going to sign the next record contract that is right in the process. I can't wait for this next album to come out. Some cool stuff. And even the one song that's already dropped, oh my gosh. And although I got to still say In the Morning is still my favorite Willie, but that's just me being an old school rocker that loves that you started that song off with a Journey lick, with the piano intro to a Journey song, but all really great stuff. But, obviously, but here's the secret that you don't know about perfection in the studio. Okay. Everybody that goes into the studio should be absolutely perfect. Because whether you can do it in one take, which almost no one can, there are a few. I've worked with some musicians who they're one take wonders. Somebody that's a perfect example of that you probably have at least heard of, Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons is not the all over the place pop and slap, massive, you talk about really amazing things on the bass he can do. He is consistent, like a metronome, though. Gene Simmons is one of those kind of people that very often can probably lay down his whole bass track for the latest song in one take. Now, with that said, Gene would be if he was on live with us here, he would be the very first one to tell you that's because he's going to practice it 1,000 or 10,000 times before he goes and drops it. The reason why you can have, a band like Kiss from the 70s, who I think has finally gone off tour, but, I know they were touring still last year. They can sing Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day and have it sound pretty much. There's a few nuances because they've got, some different members of their band too. And, times change and you want to update and keep with it. But essentially that song at its core is the same now as it was in, 1976 or 8 or whatever it was when it first came out. And that comes from that consistency. You see, we're talking about clarity, consistency, connection, right? But the clarity, the song gets developed in doing it. In just doing it. You become a polished and perfect professional musician by being in front of people. And Willie, I know you know this one. Patricia, I'm sure you probably, from some of the things you've been into, have seen this too. The most extremely talented musicians that you could ever meet, you will never hear, because they spend forever being perfect. And they can play like nobody you've ever heard. And I've known some of these people that are just, mind-blowing, the kind of things they can do. I'm talking about and Ron had some minor notoriety, but, Ron, the lead guitar player in my band, though he had some local fame, never went beyond that. Now, I can tell you that that's because his grandmother and his auntie, or was it his mom, one of the two of them, that bought him his first guitar, prayed over it, and prayed that God would make him massively talented and never allow him to use it for anybody but God. And God honored that prayer. But Ron was in a ton of breakout bands that got record contracts right after Ron left their group. And their lead guitar player is not anywhere near the level that Ron was. I can tell you, I was the lead vocalist in that group, and it took me probably 6 months in the different places that we practiced at to not just stare every single time he played. As a lead singer, you're not supposed to just stand there and gawk wide open, mouth opened wide at the lead guitar player while he's doing his lead rick. There are the times when you can be like, and do that with the crowd and stuff like that. But just being aghast and blown away that somebody could do those kind of things is not a real great professional on stage kind of a presence, right? But the ones that took action, I'm so glad that you said that word, take action. The ones that booked a gig, not because they were perfect, but because they were willing. Those are the ones you've heard of. It cracks me up. Many of you know I live with my mom and my brother right now here in the house that I'm in. And they love shows like American Idol. We haven't watched American Idol recently, but America's Got Talent and The Voice. They love shows like that. They drive me crazy, honestly. And I'm sure that there is a part of it that's jealousy, that people could get on a national stage and that there would be a place that somebody that was willing to put themselves out there as much as I was and did could now have the opportunity to do things that just weren't available in, in the mid to late 80s that are now. And sure, so some of that's jealousy, but um, let's be real. And I'm going to pick on The Voice because when they ask me my opinion of the different singers on The Voice, I couldn't be the judge on one of those shows. I probably could because I really do actually have a heart for people. But if you're really asking my really honest, sitting in my living room, nobody else hears it. Now I'm telling you it all here live on the internet for the whole world to know. I'm not sure that if I'm picking 10 or 12 or 16, depending on the season, people on my team, I'm not sure I can fill my team. I've never heard a season yet where, and let's use the little number of 10, where there's been 10 total people that auditioned. And I'm talking about the ones they show us, and I'm sure there's ones that we don't see. But I've never had a year where there would have been even just 10, which is the lowest number I know of they've ever picked, that I would pick as having enough talent that I would believe that they could be, a nationally famous, wow, you're amazing. But here's the thing, and I heard God whisper this in my ear one time about a minister who was not doing a good job. We'll just leave it at that. They're up there doing it. And I want you to honor the people that are willing to put themselves out there and doing it. Next time you see a YouTube or a Facebook Live or a TikTok or whatever, and the people sound bad, look bad, can't dance to save their lives, are making total fools of themselves but think they're awesome, give them a like or a heart. You know why? Because they did it. Because they allowed themselves to do something that often we don't do ourselves. I wasn't. I spent 5 or 6 months in 2020 live just about every day, few exceptions, but just about every day, and then just stopped doing it for a whole bunch of not realistic reasons. This should now be, it's 2025 as I'm talking now. This should be now like 5.5 years I've been doing this versus the fact that I just reset and started doing this again a little more than 2 months ago. And yeah, there were a lot of things going on in my personal life and a lot of things that I can use as excuses. And absolutely, I was not safe. I was not in a mental, physical, or anything safe space. And if you would have looked at me, or if you go back on my Facebook or my LinkedIn or my YouTube, and you look at any of the videos, you see the 400-pound, forget about the 460-pound Steve. I posted a few posts so you can see that too. You could see immediately looking at me that I wasn't safe. I was hiding. We talked last week about your armor. What was my armor? That was the only love that I was getting in my life was from, wow, this food is delicious. And it doesn't matter whether you're morbidly obese or not. I know a lot of people that, whether it be food or, any other thing, and it could be reading books, it could be sitting in front of the television and watching TV all day. Okay, we all have a tendency to want to head towards that addiction kind of thing. And it's real easy to do because that addiction becomes that armor and makes us feel we have that faux safety. Right? And the real safety comes when we just do it. I love that Nike slogan, that just do it. Debating randos online, which can be a lot of fun and can be also very frustrating. And all of us, I know positively Willie and Patricia and myself, but I know that you listening, you're in this space as well. We've had people that have gone beyond the phrase done me wrong. Okay? I'm trying really hard, although sometimes really I think curse words are the only way to say it. But I'll just say there's a word that begins with F, you over. Okay? Like I said, I'm trying really hard not to curse in these lives, and sometimes it just seems like the only way to do it. And they've done more than just they done you wrong, all right? They effed you over, right? Let's just be real. And the pain and the scar and the hurt of that is what made us unsafe. We put on the armor, we did all the things, we did whatever. And it's really easy to go from whatever level of knowing who you are, because that grows across the entirety of your life. And some of that is because as you grow, you morph a little bit. And some of that's just a matter of really taking the time to know yourself. Okay. But there are times when we either have completely walked away from the heart and soul and core of everything that we know who we are and been completely the opposite because of that person that did those things to us. And a lot of other times it becomes things that they just show up in random places in our life. And it lets and what I want you to hear is, I want your ears to hear when those things come out of your mouth. That's an area that I'm not safe in. And I'm not saying that you need, this is almost like a disclaimer here. Okay. I am not in any way suggesting you spend one more second with somebody that is abusive, vindictive, any of those kind of negative things that they're in with you. Okay. I'm not saying, okay, we forgive the people to release ourselves. Think of it as there's a great big giant chain wrapped around you, and you undo the lock and let the chain drop off of you. They can keep their chain. You don't need it. That's why we do. That's why we forgive. In that process is where we find the safety. And in listening to our voice speak it, that's why safety is what gives you your voice back. That's why we created Visibility Amplifier community. It's because we want to give you a safe space. We want to say, hey, let Patricia, let Willie, let myself, let us be the gatekeeper. And there's others in that group that are in there. You may not even ever see their names unless you go back and see me welcoming them in the first post, but they're there. Let us be the ones to jump all over and or kick out of the group somebody that does anything but support you, because that's all we're about. Okay. I believe more than just the phrase rising tide raises all ships. I'm creating a whole entire culture and organization that is based in that more than anything else. To quote Willie's book, Learning How to Never Stop Winning. And the book that we did together, Knowing How to Celebrate You and Win Your Way. Because your win doesn't have anything to do with anybody else losing. It just purely and truly and simply has to do with you understanding you and being the best you. And so we've created that specifically as a safe space because we know that if you're then there, and even if that's the only place you can do your lives, or if you have to record it on your computer and put it up there and go, hey, I was only safe letting you guys see 30 seconds of this right now. That's the level of safety I'm at. Let us love on you and encourage you. Please do tag, especially Willie and Patricia and I, but anybody else in the group. Please do absolutely let me know if anybody behind the scenes comes in and says anything more than, that was awesome. Because I know that clarity comes from safety and safety comes from clarity. They're intertwined. We've talked about how clarity, connection, consistency are intertwined and interchangeable and float all around. Safety is a byproduct of that. It's also the thing that leads to that. It's like we were talking about, the example the other day of a tennis court having a fence around it. And the fence gives you the safety to be able to, not have the ball go flying way away, and also not have things come in and attack you while you're playing, while you're volleying the ball back and forth. You have to go back and listen to the other live if you want to find that. I think it's 2 days ago. That was totally unfair, wasn't it? Hopefully we'll do a short on it. But here's the deal. You've got to speak because you need to be truly, truly clear. Yes, clarity isn't knowing. Clarity isn't knowledge. Clarity isn't expertise. Clarity isn't, I'm going to say this one because this is how it came to me. Clarity isn't clarity. Clarity is a process. Clarity is a commitment. Clarity is about taking this stuff up in your head and kind of forgetting about it. Taking this heartbeat, this deep inner thing that is you, that makes you want to reach down to people, and then dropping down into your gut. What really resonates with you? That's why you've got to go live. That's why you need this safe space to be able to speak, to put your voice out, because then your ears are going to hear it. And you're going to say, oh, I said that thing and that didn't resonate at all. It's why I didn't swear when that was really the word we all know I was meaning, is because I've been listening to my own voice and I'm like, is that needed right now? There are times. I even pushed back on my dad, who's a pastor, right? And he said, well, why did you have to use that word in a particular live I was doing? So it was great stuff, but why did you have to use that word? I was like, because that's the only word that describes exactly what happened. And there are times when that is the way that it is. And I get that. But I'm listening to my own ears and challenging myself. When are the times that any type of level of expletive is necessary, powerful, and important? And when is it just laziness in communication? And I'm trying to be better for you. See, clarity is a process. And as I get clearer and clearer and clearer, which happens for all of us constantly, going back to the back and forth conversation that Willie and I have had about musicians. You start out and you learn an instrument. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Willie, but my memory of the conversations we've had is you actually started out as a drummer, had a real talent as a drummer, and like you said, bark at me and tell me I'm totally off base, but started out, had all of that. And then as he developed as a person, even with all that talent and all the time playing drums in church and all those kind of things, God wanted more from him. There was more than just sitting behind a drum kit. There was so many more things. And he stepped up. And that meant he had to learn the other instruments he's learned. But then he had to learn how to be that front guy, how to stand out in front, how to not have anything to hide behind. I learned how to play bass, and I'm not a great bass player, but I did learn how to play bass. After years and years of being the lead singer in a band, and I was in a worship team one time, and I picked up the bass, like in practice times and between times and stuff. And also I did it going back when I was in the band and began to learn the fundamentals. And I'm very rudimentary in my bass playing. And I haven't, even though I have my two basses here, I haven't played it in a while. So it would be even worse now. But I learned it because of that whole safety thing. I started wearing the bass in front of me because it was something to hide behind. I had allowed myself to slip. And I liked that ability to hide the weight that I was putting on and the hurt and the pain behind more than just a microphone. That's just me being raw and real with you. The recorder and then the viola. And now also bass and singing. It is what it is. whatever level you're at. And that's not saying that behind the drum kit. I mean, have you ever seen Tommy Lee from oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what Tommy Lee? It'll come to me here in just a second, and I promise I'll circle back. Molly Crew. Sorry, I just lost the entire 80s there for a second. Had a minor lose the 80s stroke. Have you ever seen him play? I mean, there is absolutely no way that Tommy Lee behind the drum kit is hiding. I mean, if anything, he's the only person I've ever seen that makes Animal from the Muppets look calm. Okay? So it's not about the instrument. It's about the knowing yourself and stepping up to the level that you are and having the real clarity. It's about my dog who was convinced that she needed to be in my room. And I closed the door behind her and told her, okay, you're stuck in here. And now she's convinced she has to get out. And in a few minutes, when we're done here, I'll let her out. She's not by any means abused. She just doesn't believe in closed doors. Safety gives you back your voice. And using your voice creates a safety bubble. Do you see how all of these things just tie back together into one another? We have a process of helping you get clear, of helping you be visible and valuable. Not so that we can pressure you, not because we're expecting perfection or even, even if it isn't really good at the beginning, that's fine. Go out there and do it and say it. But what we can promise you is we've created a safe space for you. And we're going to expand the bubble of that safety and keep it that way. Even when we close the door on you, my dog is cracking me up right now, man. Even when we close the door on you and lock you in the room while we're on a live, you're actually really very well protected and taken care of. And I hope you can, at some point, be as absolutely spoiled as my dog and believe that everybody in the world is only here just for you. You should believe that. Little children believe that. I want to help you get to that place of safety. With all the things that have happened, with all of the good and the bad and the really ugly, with the people that have come in and totally messed you over, all those realities, to be able to take and leave the armor off, live and be in a safe space, and share your voice. Be the person that only you can be. If this has resonated with you, if you really want to be safe, or if you are safe, you're feeling that safety, and you want to now start using your voice, you absolutely got to come join us in Visibility Amplifier community. visibilityamplifier.com. If you need help getting safe, help getting that clarity, help knowing who you are, your passion, your purpose, that's what we're here for. Drop the word clarity or safe, either one of those is fine, but the word clarity in the comments. Send me a DM. And no, it isn't that she needs to go outside to go to the bathroom. She just doesn't want the door closed. Yes, stand in the fire of your gift like bath water. There's the old saying that says, set yourself on fire and let the world watch you burn. What if, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, the setting yourself on fire isn't something that burns you up, but rather cleanses the entirety of your soul and your spirit and radically changes the entire world forever. You've got that in you. I know it. I see it. I believe in it. I don't know if you guys can hear this scratching or not. It's hilarious. I believe in you. And I'm so proud of you for taking this journey with us. I appreciate you. I'm here for you. Drop the word clarity. Let's get together. Let's get you clear and powerful. I hope that you already feel happy, safe, warm, and loved. But if not, let's get you to happiness, to real safety, so that you can feel the warmth of truly being loved. And until we're together again next time, well, let's talk about it before we do that. Tomorrow, we're going to actually talk about when you feel safe enough to step forward. Let's get to that point tomorrow. And then, till we're together again next time, which is tomorrow, where the dog may or may not be scratching on the door, just depending on how tomorrow goes, we'll be here again with you. And until then, even if you can't be on with us live tomorrow, though I hope you will, I hope you have an amazingly great week.